Mr. Graves, we met, we discussed, talked about the supporting documentation you brought, and we feel like we need to consult with our attorney before we can make an official recommendation. I left a piece of paper and a pen down there for you. I am happy to email that over to you. In our policy, I will make sure that we have that to you in 10 days or less.
Like a determination of what
Yes.
the said.
But it's just an envelope. I didn't have any extra paper. If you can just write, your email address, and I will get that over to you after we consult our attorney.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have access to other computers other than here, so if it's okay and I come in, I mean, I don't wanna be harassed. I just don't wanna, if you could convey at least to somebody up there that it's okay for me to come in and check my email so I can actually have access here. I know I do have the rights, I'm just saying that I don't wanna be harassed or anything further,
So while we discuss your appeal, the ban is still in effect.
Okay, so I don't have any access to the email, except for here. Well, I could go to. But, if, all right, well, you just do what you gotta do. I'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. His email address is the library?
No, he has no access other than here. He's using our computers.
Email here at the library.
We are back in regular session. So we're going to move on with the rest of the agenda items. So the first up on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the April 2025 regular monthly business meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Well, I don't think we have a quorum to vote on
Of
this
people that were here?
because Martha is absent, that only gives us 4 people
Because
Okay.
Mike's in here.
to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have no quorum.
That will be tabled until the June meeting. The next item is to approve the personnel actions. I'll go ahead and read those aloud. The 2 personnel actions for this meeting are to approve.
Are we doing public input?
Oh, apologies.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yep. Public input, and I know Amy.
I know there's another one later. But if you want to go, yeah, I have quite a few. I might split them up between now and the second one. The first one is an email to the board of directors from Tim Riley, Guilderland resident and former GPL fiscal officer, regarding bylaws, Article 5, Section 5, duties of the officers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm writing today to seek the board's further discussion and action regarding the topic of the business office and treasurer appointment as discussed in your March 22 public meeting, specifically the bylaws noting the duties of the officers. Referencing the bylaws, Article 5, Section 4 and 5D. Section 4 refers to officer terms. Officers serve 1-year terms and can serve no more than 3 consecutive terms. As the incumbent treasurer approaches the end of term 3, I ask, has GPL posted the open officer position of treasurer? Is it premature to consider a change to the bylaws terms of service as raised on March 22nd prior to posting the vacancy? Section 5D outlines the duties of the treasurer. These duties include independent review of the GPL finances, submission of account books to external auditors, and review of and presentation of said audit to the board. It was stated in the March public meeting that the GPL incumbent treasurer, Mr. Wilhelm, was assisting in the business officer and training and check assurance. One can appreciate the staff shortage creating some need for assistance. However, one might ask the board, does the treasurer performing daily business maintain the independence necessary per the bylaws and a common accounting control in business? Does the treasurer acting as staff and reviewer compromise independence? In closing, my wish in writing today is that these questions will spark further discussion and perhaps deeper consideration by the board to ensure continued good stewardship of GPL. Thank you for this forum to address the board. Okay, next we have some comment cards. Since my grandson will now be attending daycare, we can't do Wednesday stipends. It would be great to have it on Saturdays also. Thank you. If you have children's books left over, would you please consider donating them to the Christ Child Society organization, which serves the needs of children we put the books in our comfort bags. Let's have petitions to send the lawmakers, Washington, etc. Save our library at the front door. Check out all over. Your library is a true jewel. The building is so inviting, light, airy, spacious, and comfortable. The loan options are amazing, baking supplies to sports. How lucky the Guilderland folks are to have this resource. Room rentals for community use is great too. Do one more and save the rest. Just sat in on the nonfiction book club. It is, I'm sure, a great way to learn, discuss, and meet people with similar interests. I hope it can continue. That was from Doreen Smith, and for some references, she's talking about the GPL Historical Society, the book club they've been doing with our librarian.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for catching that I jumped that piece as well. Okay, back to personnel actions then. Ray, did you want to do public comment now then?
It's up to you.
Sure, go for it.
A few thoughts about literacy, book sales, and the Guilderland Public Library. We have a literacy problem in the United States. In 2024, fewer than a third of American high school seniors performed at or above the proficient level in reading. That is, consistently understand and interpret written text. The percentage of fourth graders who score below basic in reading skills is the highest it's been in 20 years. 2 years ago, according to the local news, not one fifth grader in the Schenectady public school system was reading at grade level. According to the New York Times of April 11th, 2025, test scores in adult literacy have been declining over the past decade. 30% of Americans read at a level that you would expect from a 10-year-old child, meaning they have difficulty reading even simple things, meaning the reasoning ability they need to make good decisions in a complicated world is compromised. In 1964, President Lyndon Johnson said, books and ideas are, books and ideas are the most effective weapons against intolerance and ignorance. The library recently had a book sale, first book sale in over 5 years. Before the $9 million library renovation in 2020 and 2021, the library had a book sale once a month. After the renovation, no book sales. In the summer of 2023, I asked Tim Wiles why no book sales. He told me no book sales because can't get volunteers. At the trustee meeting of January 18th, 2024, my first question was why no book sales? Same answer. Can't get volunteers. This month, we just had a book sale. Had over 100 volunteers. Last month, I spoke to a lady who was organizing books for the recent book sale. I mentioned that it was good that we were having a book sale and that we had not had a book sale in several years. She told me the library is under new management. Regardless of who runs the library, who the trustees are, who the director is, who the departmental heads are, certain events should take place, like book clubs, the summer reading program, and frequent book sales. But for the last 5 years, book sales have not made the cut. Donated book container in the parking lot fills up once a week. Completely fills up, overflows. That means thousands of donated books since the library was renovated in 2020, 2021, yet no book sales. As I understand it, when it comes to running the library, the buck stops with the trustees. So, back in 2022, in one of your executive sessions, why didn't the trustees informed the director and his staff that book sales would continue? Why, after spending $9 million, didn't the library continue to accept book donations in the library rather than only in the parking lot? And why didn't the library continue to have a room to store and sort donated books for the next book sale? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ray. Any other public comment at this time? Okay, personnel actions are to approve the appointment of Colleen Smith, business manager, with a start date of April 30th, 2025. And we have Colleen in the room. She's gonna get an introduction in a moment. And then to accept the resignation of Tom McCann, part-time library clerk, effective May 5th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve those personnel actions? Marcia, a second? Thank you, Bill. Okay, all in favor of approving the personnel actions as stated? Okay, passes unanimously. Would you like to introduce Colleen now, or were you going to do it during the director's report?
I was gonna do it during the director's report, but we can do it right now.
Okay.
Colleen Smith, new library business manager. Colleen, please tell us about yourself.
I'm a librarian, have been a librarian for a couple decades. I've worked in academic libraries, been in public libraries since 2017. I was the director at Albany Law School. I was director of the Burnt Hills Public Library. Found that what I really loved about librarianship was the behind the scenes financial part of librarianship. So I've worked at public libraries, New York Library Association, and Southern Adirondack Library System, managing finances. So I have a wide background of dealing with construction grants and cash accounting, accrual accounting, managing SAM grants, and all the things that go along with public libraries. And I'm very happy to be here. Today is day, I think it's 2 weeks yesterday.
But who's counting?
I'm really happy to be here. I'm already diving into some things that have come across my desk. And I'm looking forward to seeing George again. I met him during the interview and I felt like we would really work well together. Natalie and Pete have been really supportive, as well as Amy and Caroline and Allison in the admin team. And I'm looking forward to many, many, many more months ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Colleen. We're lucky to have her. Big job in the finance department. Yes.
We can now approve the minutes. 'Cause, like, so-
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the personnel actions have been approved, and now that we have enough folks to vote on the minutes from April 2025, I will ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mike P, Bill, would you like to second? Okay, perfect. Are
One abstention.
one abstention, okay. Are there any changes, corrections, discussion about the minutes? Okay, so we recognize one abstention. All in favor of approving the minutes? Okay, great. I recognize that George is not here to do a treasurer's report. Do we have someone from the finance committee, the finance office, or administration that is going to share anything from that?
We didn't meet, so
Okay.
yeah, nothing, no.
Okay,
So we've gotten up to speed. We will have the investment report ready. George is back next week. So as soon as he and Colleen can pull the investment report together, we'll have that ready to go. It might be more expedient to do both of them at next month's board meeting, but I leave that to the board. Colleen and I were able to prepare the check register for this month. So we do have that available, but the big news is, in the room, it's, being fully staffed and having Colleen here and hitting the ground running. So.
okay, thank you. So we will have 2 months of finance reporting next month, but we do have a check register to look at. Pete had sent it out later. I don't know that it got added. I've already referred to my copy, Bill, and there might be another 1 or 2 floating around. So we will, as long as we're comfortable with it, go ahead and I will entertain a motion to approve the check register. Or do people want to can take just a moment to look through first.
Items that I would draw everyone's attention to, you will notice a large expenditure for New York State unemployment. Those are 2024 and 2025 unemployment insurance payments. I notified Corey when we were making a large payment, and I also notified the Finance Committee just because it's larger than anticipated. When George returns, we will work on attributing it to the proper fiscal year.
How did that just get missed or?
So this quarter's unemployment insurance was the first one that has come across my desk as a director. I'm not sure what happened to the previous ones. Typically, it would have gone.
Have been being made and then they stopped. And,
From looking through our New York State unemployment records, I don't believe we had any unemployment claims prior to 2024. So this might have been a new development. Yeah, I don't have any, looking through their records, I don't see any claims before, I guess, Q1 of 2024.
Do we purchase museum passes to be given out?
We do.
Or is- Okay.
Yep, they're part
That's
of our,
what I was-
there's a couple of them this month, but yeah, they are part of our library of things.
okay, for those, it's library, we buy them from the very,
We do, yep.
we get discounts on them.
You know, I don't know how hard we negotiate. I can ask, but I'm not positive. We might be paying face value for them.
And then you get billed by the use of it. If somebody shows up with that pass at like the,
No, they sell us one pass, but it can only be checked out to one person at a time. There are a couple of exceptions. The Albany Symphony one's a little bit wonky, just based on the rules of the Albany Symphony, but most of them, they literally take the pass, like the physical item out, so that we can't have multiple people at the same time with it.
It's typically like paying for a membership
yeah, right.
per year. Yeah, no, but we just get to share that membership. Okay, any other questions on the check register?
There's one that says, New Tech Business Products, it's like $4,000, it's listed as program supplies, marketing, I guess. I was just wondering what that one was.
Natalie, can I call on you and Colleen? I think that was marketing supplies.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The new tech order.
Is that the clothing? I believe it was for the SRP.
The
For the
t-shirts?
things that they ordered, the t-shirts and.
Oh, gotcha. It's T-shirts for the summer reading program.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy. Sorry, I looked right over you to Natalie. I'm sorry.
If there are no additional questions, is there a motion to approve the check register?
I'm sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
What I have as an amount for New York State unemployment insurance is a lot of number signs.
It is, yep. So the print copy, the. oh, not
It's
large enough.
It may be very large, but I don't know what it is.
22,635.
Oh, it's very large. 22, okay.
22,635.
Okay, thanks.
And then PHP is 27,765.
We need a motion, please?
Yes.
I'll make it.
Thank you, Marcia. Is there a second? Tony, thank you. All in favor of approving the check register? Great. Check register is approved. Pete, you're up with the directors and department heads report.
Happy to do so. So I already introduced Colleen, and that was my favorite part of the month and also of the report. My second favorite part, and we've mentioned it a little bit, the first book sale since January 2020 is in the books. I would like to either next month or at a future board meeting, give a full debriefing about lessons learned, how the experience was. Sneak preview of that is that it went really well. Almost universally, the patrons that spoke to us had a good time. Even the folks who had critical feedback to delivered it in a constructive and respectful manner. Most of what we heard was gratitude. People were happy that it was back and happy to have the experience. A couple of numbers that I wanted to share with all of you. The gross sales were We've actually revised it up since the narrative report. They were over $11,500 in gross sales. We had over 100 volunteers who offered their time, but we had over 50 volunteers at the book sale itself. And we had over 850 transactions. We didn't do like a door clicker as people were coming through, so I don't know the exact number of people, but you figure most people didn't come alone. You know, they brought somebody with them or they brought a family, so thousands of people likely coming through. So yeah, that was a really great experience for all of us. Some of the compliments we received were just how well organized we were, how good the selection was, how good the quality of materials were. So people loved it. And thank you to all of you who either came in person and supported or who supported us through the process of, learning how to do a book sale over again. It was kind of the first time for me here certainly, and the first time with me building. So that was terrific. I do want to highlight two items that we talked about at previous meetings that I want to follow up on. We have made some changes to the board section of our website. First, we made it simpler to get to the Board of Trustees section. We simplified the drop-down menu to highlight the Board of Trustees. We also put it in the footer of the website, so there's multiple paths to get there. On the page itself, we rearranged where the officer information and the contact us form are to make them more prominent. Those were requests from the board previously. A huge thank you to Caroline from our marketing team for working on that. We have also added a new book vendor to help alleviate our supply chain issues. We are working with Ingram Books as well. When you're walking through the library, you'll probably notice the new book section is now very flush, which is wonderful news. I know we've had a few comments at previous board meetings from the public about feeling like the new book section didn't have as many things as it used to, and I can now say very confidently that it does. And the last thing I'll mention in the absence of the chair of the personnel committee is that I will be having my mid-year check-in with the personnel committee, largely to talk about process and how the evaluation process is going. Again, to give a sneak preview, I'm generally very happy and I feel very supported by all of you. So I don't think I'm going to have anything incendiary to say during my mid-year check-in. So that's good news for all of us. Oh, and summer reading is coming up. This year's theme is Color Our World. The library is going to be extraordinarily colorful this summer. We're talking, I hope you know your Roy G. Biv, because we're going to have the whole Crayola box here. And we're also going to be celebrating flowers later in the summer. So any planted flower fans, you have that to look forward to.
Okay, thank you, Pete. I just do want to tack on the staff members in particular, some staff members from administration really put in a lot of effort to that book sale, and it was seen and appreciated very much so.
When you say the theme will be flowers,
The theme is Color Our World.
Right.
So part of us interpreting that is flowers.
what does that mean?
Color Our World or flowers.
Oh, flowers. I mean, I know what flowers are.
I will circle back to you with that. We're still planning the Flower Fest. So I don't
What
want
might be
to.
nice is if people bring in their own rodents so that we can, not a contest, but just so people can display and exhibit what it is they grow. Flowers or plants.
Absolutely. That's actually, I don't know if it's still happening, but we're doing a flower exchange in the garden tonight. So, yeah, but no, I love that idea.
Nope, thank you so much for sharing that. Summer reading is always awesome, so looking forward to it. Committee reports. Finance, you did not meet this month, okay? Alicia's not here for personnel, but Pete gave a brief update that they'll be doing the mid-year. Is there anything else from anyone on personnel to add? Facilities?
Really not a lot to say. Parking lots need to be sealed and lines painted. That's part of in the budget, and any idea when that's actually gonna start?
We were actually trying to schedule it for over the holiday at the end of the month. So if we can, it would be great if we could do that just because it wouldn't disrupt the flow of traffic in the parking lot. So that's what we're aiming for.
We're still assessing what we need to do with more comprehensive work on the auxiliary parking lot. The core, Mike has been doing with the Children's Garden Club, and we've been having discussions with them about how they would provide various plants, green materials to the library and then maintain it. Any update from our discussion on that?
Nothing new unless you had anything.
Yeah, they've reached out to me again. They have even more plants they want to donate. So
That's a good comment of.
Yeah. We're gonna come up with a protocol for dealing with, how they donate, how they take back, how they maintain, that type of stuff. Same thing with the Gilderland Central School District and the art supply for the decor. Mike is also leading the effort on that. Soon we'll have some art for the children's room. The foundry areas. And then Pete's already talked about the book sales, but other than that, it was a slow week, a slow month on facilities.
Okay, did governance meet, Mike?
Governance did not meet this month, but we do have the kind of, I don't know where this fits in our thing, but last month we presented the bylaws amendment that needed to wait for the next meeting to be voted on, so that's potentially up for
Tonight?
tonight. Could be, yeah. Although, I guess, do we have 6 people now? Because the bylaw amendment requires a 2/3 vote, so we barely.
Yeah.
So I don't know, where this is, just to remind everyone, this was the small amendment to the officers' provisions to allow the treasurer to serve more than 3 terms. And we want to get that enacted before this year is up, so we could, put it till next month and still get it done before July rolls around, but
Okay.
I didn't realize that I wasn't thinking that. I didn't notice that it wasn't on the agenda, and didn't think of it until later, so.
Okay,
Do
What
we
do we
need to
think?
consider the comment by the board member?
so perhaps let's circle back to this during old business, if
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
We can
that works.
consider those 2 pieces together. Long-range planning, I submitted a report in there. We are working on getting the community survey all rounded up and wrapped out. And I actually saw that I received some staff feedback right before this meeting. So we'll be putting that in there and broadly disseminating that to the community and followed up with some focus groups. Narina is not here. Is anyone from board development have anything to share? On the cafe investigation, do you have anything to report now? I know that we have need of an executive session to discuss pieces of that.
Yeah, I would just probably leave it at that we have issued it it's fit for executive session, and that's it. There wasn't a meeting this month to report.
Alicia is not here. I'm not sure, Pete, Natalie, if anyone has any updates from the foundation.
They have not met. We're trying to find a mutually agreeable time because they would really like Alicia and I at a minimum to attend.
Upper Hudson, I had mentioned to everyone last month, if you have not been before, we have the official event invitation to attend the Upper Hudson annual celebration, which is June 11th at 5:30 p.m. at Brown's in Troy. Please let us know. I believe someone internally will be coordinating that. So we'll probably get some emails about that. It's great. We get to see the awards for the programs. There's just lots of stuff that comes out of that. It's inspiring.
Who's the new director?
The new director has been announced for Upper Hudson Library System. His name is Chris Sagas. He will be starting on June 2nd. He is coming to us. He is currently the director at Utica Public Library, but he actually is from the Albany area and still lives in the Albany area. He worked at Albany Public Library for a number of years, is very familiar with the libraries in the Upper Hudson Library System. Exceptional candidate. We're really excited to have him, and hopefully we'll be able to introduce him to the board at some point.
Thank you.
Yes, so that is pretty much the updates. Also, you had gotten a message, I'm not quite sure who sent it, started the message. Upper Hudson is also who does the Pride Parade and who gets together all of the marchers. So if you didn't respond, but happen to have a chance to go, it's always a great time. You can join with all the other librarians, trustee members from all the Upper Hudson libraries. Let me know if you need additional information on that.
We have t-shirts this year.
And Natalie says we have t-shirts this year. So if that doesn't entice you, I don't know what will. It is
June 8th.
Thank you, Amy. June 8th.
It's a Sunday, yeah?
And I know that Amy and Natalie have as well, but Marcia and I have also walked in the parade. We can tell you it's inspiring. People
It's great.
love the library and they love to shout it at you, and it will make you feel good about your volunteerism on the board. So that's the Upper Hudson business. So if there are no other committee reports, we'll move on to old business and we can briefly discuss the bylaws piece and any implications the letter that we received in public comment has on that.
Okay, should I take over then?
Sure, I'll pass it back to you.
All right, so I'll recap what the proposed bylaw amendment was that we presented last month, and then, I could briefly discuss a little bit on things that were raised in the comment. The bylaw election, the purpose of this was that George has been serving as our treasurer. He's coming up on the end of his third year in that capacity. In our bylaws, we have 4 officers. 3 of those officers are board members, the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, who are limited to, serving 3 years in a particular position. The treasurer is the non-board member officer. And the bylaws just speak generally of saying officers may not serve more than 3 terms. So we think a fair reading of that is that includes the treasurer as well, which would mean George would be term limited out after this. So we had some discussion of whether it makes sense for someone who's not in a board position, doesn't have a vote on the board, any of that, to similarly be term limited out of those positions. And the suggestion was made that we should amend it to allow the treasurer to serve longer if the treasurer wants to and the board wants to continue to have the same treasurer serving. Part of the reasoning behind that too is the treasurer is a position that, unlike the kind of general board positions that we're all sitting in, the treasurer requires kind of some very particular expertise that is kind of hard to come by, and it's a fairly demanding position as a volunteer position that isn't getting paid for anything. We kind of ask a lot of the treasurer, and it's not necessarily easy to find someone who is willing and capable of taking on that role. So when we have someone who is in that role and is willing to keep serving, it seems a little bit kind of shooting ourselves in our own foot by forcing them out unnecessarily. So that's kind of the rationale behind it. And to implement this, we just had 2 small changes of wording. The first of those changes is to, this is all in Article 5, which is the officers' provisions, paragraph 4B, which says no officer shall serve in the same capacity for more than 3 consecutive years. We've just added the language to say, except the treasurer, who shall serve at the discretion of the board, to just carve the treasurer out from that 3-year limitation. And the other change is just a very simple change to just make very explicit something that's already implicit if you kind of read the various provisions of this section, which says that all officers must be members of the board except the treasurer, who shall be appointed by the board. We've just added the word annually, who shall be appointed to the board annually. Just to make clear, which was already implicitly in there, but we want to just crystal clear that the treasurer does need to be reappointed every year. So there is an opportunity where the board exercises its oversight by saying, yes, we want to continue to have this person serving in that position. They don't just kind of indefinitely stay in the position until they're removed or something like that. So those are those 2 changes that would allow George to continue serving and would just, and potentially future treasurers in the future. So that's the amendment that's on that we kind of presented last month and is potentially up for a vote today. Just to briefly, the comment, and I think from Tim Riley, there was a previous, I don't know if it was last month or he had some similar comments and concerns. I feel like, in my take is, I think there's, two distinct issues that, I think I would keep separate. And one is the question of, he raised the question of whether we should have posted this and tried to get, interest, rather than, amending to extend. I think it's a couple of things to say. One is just a very practical thing. Right now, our time is fairly limited, and if we want to, if we don't extend this to allow George to continue to serve, then we will need to move very quickly to try and fill that position and find someone who's willing to do it. We only have, a month and change before the rollover to the next year when George will have, his term will have expired and we'll need someone new. So that's just a practical concern. But, I think also it's just a judgment question about whether you think, when you have someone who's serving the position, who is willing to keep serving and people are, happy with the work they're doing, whether it makes more sense, just operationally and for efficiency and everything to, make things so they can continue serving. It's not unusual in, many nonprofits for someone to serve in a treasurer type position for, extended periods of time if they're, doing a good job and people are happy for them to keep serving that. I think it's a little different from the board officers where you don't want someone to kind of get entrenched in a position when you have a whole board of, 9 people and somebody can, people can, stay in that position for a long period of time where they wield some, authority over agenda setting and other, roles. You want some circulation. I think the treasurer is a little different. So that's the one. The second piece that was in there that I think is distinct and separate was concerns that were raised over whether the treasurer was too involved operationally as opposed to a purely oversight position. And I don't, know on the ground enough the specifics of that. I know we had, staffing, understaffing or, issues with, getting our finance department, properly staffed up. And I think that's, it's a legitimate point. What, the facts behind it, I don't know enough about to comment on. Maybe you could comment on that.
And Pete, jump in. I will say this too. Part of that is rectified now that we have.
Exactly. Yes.
That
Recognize
the
that.
largest portion of that. And I would just say to the staff and to anyone else that if you find some sort of issue, please, that might have to do with financial issues resulting from George being involved in the actual day-to-day, to report it to the board so that we are aware of it and that we can deal with it at that time. I don't know that retroactively we can do anything about that. We had no financial people at the time and that was an appropriate solution, so.
Right, and I think, in the abstract and in general, it's a good idea for us as a treasurer to be separated, and the oversight, piece be very, be kind of distinctly separated from the day-to-day operational piece of things. I understand that kind of in a, the contingencies and the situation that we found ourselves in, maybe things were blurred in a way that was not ideal. So I think it's a very fair comment for us to, just consider and something, that, potentially was not, an ideal situation. Again, I don't know the extent of his, operational involvement exactly, but,
We have no information or knowledge that his helpfulness was in any way compromising his independence to give his judgment, as far as I know. Does anybody have any information regarding
Any
that?
evidence has been to the contrary of that.
Exactly.
no, yeah, I don't have any particular concerns,
Future.
but
We have a business manager.
right. And the purpose of kind of these prophylactic type thing, these, separations and things is, prophylactic is to prevent things from arising in the first place. And even if it, everything worked out great this time and everything was fine, it doesn't mean it was kind of, the right way to do things necessarily. But again, I don't know factually on the ground exactly the extent of his involvement.
Well, and the phrase you used, not ideal, is exactly how I would have described it. I will say from an oversight perspective, no funds were expended without coming up my direction. And the treasurer can't sign checks. George in his capacity helping us couldn't sign checks. So there was still the oversight of myself, Natalie, or if the need arose, any of the board officers actually approving the expenditures. And yeah, I will just echo what Marcia was saying. George has been shown nothing but candor in fact directing us, saying, make sure you don't get in a position where you can't get rid of your treasurer if you have to. You know,
You have no knowledge that there was an overstep on his part.
nope, he provided expertise in, frankly, he could have done this. He would have been within his rights to show me how to cut checks and use our software and then remove himself. He went above and beyond in walking us through and keeping us going.
No fun, but he's a treasure, I think. We respect and useful.
Mhm.
We have a motion about the board, the amendments.
So that's the question, you know, I think we have resolved a part of the public concern that came out of this and everything, but do we want to move forward on the motion to adopt or to revise them?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
We have
Do we-
two-thirds.
I'll
We have
second.
two-thirds.
Yeah, we got-
we have exactly 2/3, so it has to be unanimous.
See how it goes.
So the motion is, Mike, do you have the language in front of you? Is it short enough to read? It's a bylaws amendment.
I
so we
will
probably
read the bylaws amendments. It is to amend two provisions of the bylaws. Both are in Article 5. One is to amend paragraph 3B to read, all officers must be members of the board except the treasurer, who shall be appointed by the board annually. The treasurer may not be a member of the board. And the only change there is the addition of the word annually. The second change is to, sorry, 1 second. It's paragraph 4B. No officer shall serve in the same capacity for more than 3 consecutive years, except the treasurer, who shall serve at the discretion of the board. And that provision, except the treasurer, that is the new language that's been added. So those are the two kind of discrete changes that make up this proposed amendment.
So we had a motion. We had a second from
Second.
you. Is there any additional discussion on this? Are there concerns about this remaining? Okay, then. I will ask all that are in favor of these changes to the bylaws to say aye.
Aye.
Right?
Okay, it passes with 2/3 of the board. So that has been changed. If there are reasons to seek a new treasurer, if there are no reasons to seek a new treasurer at this point, then we will plan on, with this change in the bylaws, at the annual meeting, appointing treasurer for an year. As long as he is willing. Is there any other old business? We have one item that is listed here under new business, and that is a resolution to authorize Colleen Smith, Library Business Manager, to execute electronic transfers of funds with NBT Bank and/or Broadview Federal Credit Union and its associated divisions. So this is just standard practice as the business manager that she has access to doing these transfers. Are there any questions about that resolution?
What's an associated division?
Broadview has a named division that covers some of our investments. So in this particular case, that's what it refers to.
Okay, is there a motion then to accept this resolution?
I'll make it.
Okay, Marcia, Bill, would you like to second? Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Right.
Perfect. Is there any other new business? Is there any, did you have additional public input? Okay,
More cards to read. I want to request story time for toddlers at 3 or 4 o'clock after school time. I am a teacher and I work mornings. It is hard for me on Tuesday mornings. My daughter loves to do the activities. Please arrange. Next one was the kids' artwork was taken down a week earlier than mentioned, and it is disappointing not to find it when we came to see it. Rumgo says, thanks you, the book sale was fun. Another one says, I love your library. When I want a book or when I want some peace and quiet, I go to here. Love your library, Amelia, 3rd grade. Good job. I appreciate your subscribing to Wall Street Journal and Barron's. I really hope that you can add Economist. It is simply the best weekly of its kind. And our last one is Sky Friends is my son's favorite activity. We are starting daycare and would love the option to attend a replay of Wednesday's class on a Saturday. Please feel free to call or email me.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Ray, did you have any additional public comment?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We added, as you may remember, a month or two ago, we added this board comments section to see if there's anything that the board would like to comment on. Are there any board comments?
Congratulations on the book sale. Welcome, Colleen. And I think everything you read is a matter of staff and programmatic activities that have little to do with the board.
We hope that those get passed along. Any other board comments? We do have need of an additional executive session to discuss confidential information. So do I have a motion to enter executive session? I saw Marcia's hand go up first and Mike second. So we're counting Mike as this, Mike P is this.
Passes,
I know.
passes motion in the room.
Okay.
Wait, who had it?
Must be 5 years.
It was
Five years
Marcia, Mike
experience,
P.
huh?
Marcia
As
first.
soon as it comes to an end.
I know. but-
All in favor of entering executive session? Thank you. Okay. We'll pause for just a moment when the streaming stops. Thanks, Ray.
Goodbye, Ray. Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
You too.